I'm not happy.
I don't need Elizabeth Warren or the government giving away my money.
Calling Mike Bloomberg an oligarch has implications in this country that I think are unfair and unreasonable.
I care. That's it.
It makes you think of some rich person who got their money off of oil in Russia, who's taking advantage of a broken and dysfunctional system.
Bernie Sanders saying, the country's corrupt, our system's corrupt. Be careful about that language, Bernie. You know, be careful.
Oh, well, I'm sorry.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
Oh no, Sam Cedar, what a fucking nightmare. Oh no!
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Round the Nation, Waldorf Nation, Jeff Waldorf here, of course, with you. You know I had to add that to the soundboard. You know I did. Of course, I had to.
We fucking nailed him!
Oh, I love it. Too much fun stuff. All right, so now speaking of the stories we're going to talk about, fun stuff. We've got more, of course, revelations from Trump and his time dealing with the coronavirus. We have the Florida students that are being forced, as well as, by the way, not just students, but you've got instructors, teachers, professors that will be forced to register their political views with the government. Oh, no, Ron DeSantis, what are you talking about? Ron DeSantis is not a fascist. No, of course not. No. Ron DeSantis, one of the good ones, say some people on the left. I will never understand that. But there it is. This is what Ron DeSantis is really up to. We also have a judge letting a Capitol rioter go on vacation. Fun. And then we've got military documents from released by Ken Klippenstein of The Intercept that basically shows that the military is equating socialism with neo-Nazis. And then we have, of course, more ACAB. Yeah. Ron DeSantis. I didn't say Rhonda, to be fair. Ron DeSantis. So. Our high school had us register our political preferences. I registered as an anarchist. Javier, you're going to be happy. I am going to be talking about anarchism, which is also, by the way, on the list of things that are not good, apparently, according to the military, the U.S. military. And so, interesting stuff. John McAfee dead in Spanish prison. Yeah, I just saw that break. Interesting stuff going on here. I have no idea what happened there. But I do know what's going to follow. Many conspiracies. Should be fun. So there you go. All right. So now, did he get a virus? Are you serious? Are you guys serious right now? Come on. No. Y'all. McAfee, the antivirus. That would have been ironic, but they're saying that, look, they are saying suicide, but then, there are people that are saying, maybe not. Again, there's lots of conspiracy. It's almost Epstein all over again. So that's what that is. Fun. Like I said, there's going to be, and there's no way to prove or disprove, really, in my opinion. So anyway, there's that. Please like and share this stream if you haven't already. I don't know if my question amused him or made him disappointed or both simultaneously. True. Oh, God.
Oh, no!
Let's just say that. All right. Let's just say that. We gotta get onto the news. I'm having too much fun, and we can't do that. We're not allowed to have fun on this show, or in the news, obviously. So please again like and share, and we will get into the first story here. Trump versus Bolton. Interesting. So we continue to be learning a lot about, like insider information from the Trump administration during their, I guess, fight with COVID, or how they dealt with COVID, which of course we all know how that ended up. Now, according to a book about this time that was posted by the Washington Post, and then of course reviewed by different media outlets, apparently an excerpt from that claims that former President Trump had openly joked about COVID killing John Bolton. So now this book is Nightmare Scenario. And according to the excerpt from it, Trump had tried to joke about the virus for months, sometimes even mocking people who had become ill. Ah, yes, the epitome of hilarity right there. Making fun of people who got the virus that ended up killing 600,000 American citizens. What a great guy. What a wonderful person. Gee, so Christian of him too. What a guy to look up to. Disgusting human being. Mocking people. Many of his own voters, by the way. A lot of people who died are people who followed his advice. They got sick because they didn't wear masks. They didn't do the social distancing, didn't believe in it. They didn't take the virus seriously because Trump didn't take the virus seriously, and Trump ended up getting it, as well as John Bolton. Now, basically, he is mocking you, and that's what it is. He's mocking you. And now, by the way, if you have a pre-existing condition as a result of COVID, the former president is literally laughing at you because he thinks you're weak or you're stupid. And you don't have the great genes like he does. Terrible person. Now, the anecdote chronicled by Axios from the book says that months before Trump had contracted COVID himself, he was in a meeting where National Economic Council Director Larry Kudlow had stifled a cough. So, at that time, anybody who coughs in the room, immediately sus. Like, get this guy out of here. He's got the Rona. He's got the Rona. Oh dear God. So now, Trump apparently waved his hands in front of his face as to jokingly ward off any flying virus particles, then cracked a smile, saying, "I was just kidding. Larry will never get COVID. He will defeat it with his optimism. John Bolton. Hopefully COVID takes out John." Did Kudlow ever get coronavirus? I have no idea. I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna do some live research during the show. Did Larry Kudlow get COVID? Wow, did Larry Kudlow die? What are my Google results right here? Jesus Christ. Get COVID. I don't know. Yes, he did. He did get COVID. Oh my God, he did. Larry will never get COVID. His optimism. They all got COVID, and most likely it's because of Donald Trump, who spread COVID all over the place. Petri dish. Total petri dish. My God. But anyway, sources for the writers of this book told them that they believed that Trump was being serious when he wished death upon Bolton. When reached for comment, Bolton told Axios, quote, "Fooled me. I thought he was relying on his lawyers." Now, putting aside the fact that John Bolton is a terrible human being, as well as a coward, okay, I don't really think wishing death on people is a nice thing to do. I don't know. Maybe it's just, I don't know. And don't get me wrong, if Donald Trump or any of these ghouls died from COVID, I wouldn't shed a tear. Wouldn't have cried for him. Wouldn't have cried for John Bolton. John Bolton never cried for the million people in Iraq that died as a result of that war. But that said, I never wished death on them either. And I sort of think that might be the difference. Now, I understand some of you might see this and might disagree, be like, oh, no, yeah, fuck those guys. Totally. I know. It just means I'm too much of a bleeding heart. But, I'll take it. I'm fine with that. I've always been a really empathetic person. I think that, having empathy for people is better than being someone like Donald Trump. Or, again, with Bolton and the million Iraqis that were dead. Many of them innocent civilians. And then you had Trump with the continuation of the wars, the Bush war, Obama war, all that stuff. But Trump was dropping Moabs, as well as, of course, bungling coronavirus, with no concern about the American people or anyone else. They have no humanity. That's it. They have no humanity. They don't care about people. Don't care at all. They don't think life is precious, especially if it exists outside of the borders of the United States, much less in it. I mean, if we actually really did care about life, then we'd make sure that 56,000 people a day didn't die without health insurance. Or is it a year? It's a lot of people. I always get confused with that statistic because, I look at it and no matter how you look at it, it is an unacceptably high number because we put insurance company profits over human beings' lives. That's horrifying. But again, I do think that we need to try to retain our humanity and empathy because they don't have any of it. Because the world needs good people, especially in positions of power. And then, of course, we need those people more than we need the Trumps and Boltons of the world, especially when it comes to the positions of power. So, has Biden delivered on free public college debt forgiveness in the public option yet? Are you kidding? Are you kidding? That would never. Nothing will fundamentally change. Nothing. So the answer, of course, is no. I know you're kidding. I know you guys know the answer. All right. Anyway, let's go to Florida being Florida. 2 Florida stories today. Oh, in case I know some of you are talking about this. Joe Biden has forgiven about $3 billion worth of student loan debt. Out of probably it's somewhere around $1.5 trillion now, isn't it? Yeah, it's the total student loan debt is $1.5 trillion, and the real what the Biden administration is doing is essentially doing the borrower defense for repayment, which is, oh, if you got screwed over by a for-profit college, then we're going to forgive your debt, which I think is fine. But if you can extend that to people who got screwed over, why can't you extend that to basically everybody who, as I'll argue, has also been screwed over by the insane increase in prices that we've had over the last 30 years. You know, you've had almost 1,000%, 13 increase. But what is it? 1,300% increase somewhere around there, which is insane. What do you think? The student debt is 1.7 trillion. Jesus Christ, it's getting worse. It's getting worse. And so, yeah, $3 billion, it's a drop in the bucket. We need to forgive that debt. Because, again, we all kind of got screwed into it because of the rising prices and because of the general focus. And, of course, the promise to our generation. We were told, I mean, growing up, I graduated in 2003. Seems like forever ago. And all throughout the high school years, we were all told, go to college, take out money, borrow what you got to do, but go to college, you'll get a good job and you'll be able to pay it off and, real quick. And that's it. Terrible idea. We don't even have to stop making F-35s to pay off student debt. We could do it today. I did in 96 and I was told the same. We were all told that lie. No, oh, don't worry. Go get a college degree and you'll be able to get a job just like that. And I'm sure it worked for some people. However, for many, it didn't. For many, all we got was just debt. Tons of debt. So, yeah. I was told to borrow and pay it back. I know a doctor that paid his off at 55 years of age. Jesus. An entire lifetime of servicing student loan debt. Disgusting. Shit, it didn't have to be this way. All right. Anyway. Oh, hey, thank you. Somebody likes the shirt. I appreciate that. It was like a Christmas present or something. My sister-in-law. She's fantastic. All right. Anyway, let's move on to the next story here. Let's go to Florida. On Tuesday, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed legislation requiring students, faculty, and staff at the state's public universities and colleges to register their political views with the state, apparently in order to support intellectual diversity. Ah, yes. The state, according to the Tampa Bay Times, will require taxpayer-funded colleges and universities to issue surveys to determine the extent to which competing ideas and perspectives are presented on campus and whether students, faculty, and staff feel free to express their beliefs and viewpoints. So, of course, this goes back to the conservatism is shunned on campus. What about my free speech? I need to have Ben Shapiro here at my at my college to go and make speeches about how capitalism is amazing. So, yeah, that's what happens. So now, again, they're forcing people to not only out themselves politically in colleges, but to send that list to the government. Now, why? Because the government will then use that to decide whether or not to cut funding to these schools. So there is no way, of course there's no way that will ever be used against people who have an opposing ideology to the governor of Florida. Understand what this is. It's disastrous. Now, DeSantis says, quote, "It used to be thought that a university campus was a place where you'd be exposed to a lot of different ideas. Well, yeah, it is. Unfortunately, he says, now the norm is these are more intellectually repressive environments. You have orthodoxies that are promoted and other viewpoints are shunned and even suppressed. Maybe the ones that are shunned because they suck. And why do you hate the free marketplace of ideas in colleges? Curious. Now, does he have any examples, by the way, of people being shunned? No. But apparently, he claims that he knows some parents that are worried that their children are going to be indoctrinated with ideas that the parents don't support. So again, you probably have these, wealthy conservative parents that, their kids will go to college, or not even like middle class, suburban parents. And their kids go to school and they learn like, oh, it turns out Black people are getting screwed over and beaten up by police for no reason. You have the working class that continues to be crushed by, giant conglomerates. People like Jeff Bezos get away with paying almost nothing in taxes. Not only that, but it turns out that pretty much every other country has universal health care for everybody, but we don't, because you have pharmaceutical companies and large insurance corporations and lobbyists that make sure that none of us have, affordable health care. And they don't want their kids to find out about that stuff. Like, no, you don't understand. The status quo is great. No, the status quo is awesome. And Governor DeSantis, we are very, very worried about our kids learning about how the status quo actually sucks for anybody that's not us. So you need to clamp down on that. Ridiculous. How about letting your kids make their own decisions based on the information that they are presented with? I mean, they're saying, indoctrinated. Makes it sound like these kids are stupid and have zero agency in their lives. Which, ironically, a lot of the kids that go into college, aren't they? So you're saying they're not old enough to make their own decisions about what political ideology they're in. But at the same time, they can sign out tens of thousands of dollars worth of loans just to be able to go to that school. They're responsible enough for that, but not responsible enough to be able to take information that's presented to them and actually get their own political ideology out of it. Okay, then. It really seems like they're afraid of the free marketplace of ideas on college campuses and want to clamp down on any sort of non-conservative ideologies. And that's what this is. In fact, during debate, a pair of state legislators complained that Florida colleges and universities had become, quote, socialism factories. In case you weren't clear enough about this. It's incredibly insidious. And they're actually, by the way, trying to use woke language in order to be oppressive. As they said, intellectual diversity, as if we're stupid enough to fall for that one. Now, House Speaker Chris Sprowls was quoted saying on debate on this bill, quote, as the governor said, we are at great risk as a nation and as a state, and the lack of intellectual diversity that is on our university campuses. We have decided that one ideological standard will win the day. But the thing is, we're losing because we're not having real conversation. Notice how he says, we're losing this one. So now we're going to make sure that our ideological standard wins today. Because again, we don't believe in the free marketplace of ideas. We don't believe that other people should be, or that people should be exposed to liberal ideas or progressive ideas, because it turns out people actually like them. Sucks. Again, you are losing because people are actually able to have real conversations and learn things about reality, which has a liberal bias. Now, DeSantis and the bill's sponsor, State Senator Ray Rodriguez, suggested that funding could be cut as punishment for colleges and universities that were found to be, according to their standards, indoctrinating students under this measure, which goes into effect July 1st. So they've already passed this. They've already signed this. This is what they're doing. And pull funding from any college that teaches reality, essentially. Ridiculous. DeSantis said this, quote, "That's not worth tax dollars, and that's not something that we're going to be supporting moving forward." The so-called indoctrination. Rodriguez insisted that faculty would not be promoted or fired based on their political views recorded in the survey. Oh, well, I guess we'll just take your word for it, which is not required to be filed anonymously, which means their names are going to be given to the government and will be selected or created by the state's University Systems Board of Governors and the State Board of Education. Sure. Oh, of course. Yeah, no. Nothing bad will ever happen as a result of this. Oh, of course not. Oh, no. And while he's doing these lists of liberal students and faculty that he will have access to, DeSantis also signed a law prohibiting university and college officials from limiting campus speech that may be uncomfortable, disagreeable, or offensive, and will allow students to record lectures without consent that may be used as evidence in a civil or criminal case against educational institutions. Meaning there will be groups like Project Veritas that will go in and into these places, and anytime a professor talks about something liberal in their class, they'll go and they'll take that video and they'll use it in lawsuits, criminal suits, against these very same professors or instructors, and say, look, you violated this law. You're indoctrinating students. How dare you? That is fucked up. That is seriously screwed up. Now, here's the thing. I actually believe in freedom of speech. I actually believe in freedom of all of ideas. So here's the thing. Am I okay with Ben Shapiro or Candace Owens and Charlie Kirk going and speaking at a college campus? Yeah, absolutely. I think that's totally fine. See, the thing is, I'm not afraid of their ideas. Why? Because their ideas suck and are easily disproven and debunked. But apparently, Ron DeSantis thinks, no, our ideas suck so much that we have to come up with draconian laws that would likely violate free speech. And we're going to come up with this because we are so afraid of their ideas. Again, fucked. Totally fucked. But we know that as a response to this, they're going to abuse this. Absolutely. Ron DeSantis is an authoritarian. And that's what this is. They're authoritarians. He has these tendencies. And of course, this is going to be used to target people who disagree with him politically. And that's the only reason that they're trying to make these lists. To chill actual free speech on college campuses. And make sure to have lists of all the liberals that are in the system. It's disgusting. Do not pretend this is about diversity of thought. This is all about Florida and Republicans, conservatives, losing ideologically. Jeff, if they were so easily debunked as you say, how are we even here today? Come on, man. They are, okay. Conservatives lived in post-truth reality. So really, it doesn't even matter how much you debunk their ideas. Factually, we're correct. But when you try to present that, and maybe this is what you mean by this, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it doesn't matter how much factual information that you present to them. They will reject it because they reject reality. justice's little thought crimes. True. Which is why this is absolutely going to be abused. That's why this is authoritarian. Why hasn't this been challenged by the Supreme Court? I don't know. I am worried, too, about the Supreme Court with a massive conservative leaning. Totally gross. He's going to make Florida colleges undesirable in the marketplace. No one wants to hire students who aren't given a well-rounded education. True. Also true. If you stay lied nonstop, enough people will believe it. Yeah, also true. Disgusting, isn't it? This is what the Republicans have planned for us. And this is what they're trying to do. Florida is like a testing ground of some of the worst, most regressive policy. And that's why it's important to watch what happens in Florida and what they're trying to do. So, have I seen the video with David Keene, former NRA president and current board member of the gun rights group? Keene was addressing his comments to thousands of empty chairs set up to represent the estimated 3,044 kids who should have graduated high school that were killed by gun violence. I did not see that. I did not. It's crazy. Teachers who quit over this. Yeah, maybe that's the point. Get them all to quit, and then the ones who play ball are the ones who will take those places. All the craziest shit comes out of Florida. True. True. Video called The Lost Class. And he's pro-gun. Well, I mean, look, you could be pro-Second Amendment and also pro-regulation. Because guess what? Regulations are absolutely part of the Second Amendment. Just like you can believe in freedom of speech, but also be against people yelling fire in a crowded theater and using that speech, of course, to hurt people. You know, you could be a reasonable person. You could be a reasonable gun owner. I mean, there's nothing mutually exclusive. And really, you know, the framework here, the framing is super conservative on that. And when you think about it this way, you must be, you know, pro that I get a rocket launcher and a nuclear weapon, Second Amendment. That's their framing. And anyway. All right, let's I was going to take a quick break. But I think we can keep going. Yeah, we can keep going. A federal judge allowed an accused Capitol insurrectionist to go on vacation after agreeing with court conditions. So now one of the conditions, of course, is surrendering her firearms, which is smart, to her family member. U.S. Magistrate Judge Zia M. Farquhar released a woman, Pauline Bauer, who was an accused Capitol insurrectionist, on her own recognizance, according to a report by Matthew Russell Lee of the Inner City Press. Now, what's messed up about this is that Bauer had actually been previously held in contempt of court by the same judge previously. So, okay, wait a minute. So this person, Ms. Bauer, is a sovereign citizen, and she was at the Capitol. And so she's got charges against her on that, and doesn't even believe in the court system that she is currently in. Nonetheless, apparently she gets to go on vacation. Yeah. And so a court document filed on Tuesday, recounted Bauer's Monday appearance before Judge Farquhar, says the document noted that Bauer claimed that she was making a, quote, divine special appearance before the court. So that's basically her way of saying, I really didn't want to stay in jail. I want to go on my vacay. So I'm going to make a, quote unquote, divine special appearance. God told me to do so. Well, of course, God is the only authority I listen to on the fact that I really want to go on my July 4th cookout. She said, as a free living soul and a woman. She cited several passages from religious scripture as the basis for her statements. Ms. Bauer also sought to read the document into the record. The court accepted the document, indicating that it would enter into the record, but rejected her request that she be allowed to read the 37-page document during the hearing, which apparently was just her rambling on about God, Jesus, the Constitution, and all that stuff. Okay. Fun. What a Fruit Loop. After spending a night in jail, Bauer again appeared before Farquhar on Tuesday. The judge ruled that Bauer could be released on personal recognizance after she verbally agreed to the court's conditions, the court that she doesn't believe in, which included, again, turning firearms over to her sister and checking in with the court. She also said she would be allowed to, the judge also said that Bauer would be allowed to drive to Mount Rushmore on July 4th for a family vacation. Fun. I mean, sure, this was a person that threatened to hang Nancy Pelosi, also invaded the Capitol building on January 6th to help overturn a lawful election. Let's go ahead and let her celebrate her independence day with her family. Cook a little trees and burgers, little trees and brats. Because that's what this is. Again, sovereign citizen, she doesn't believe the legitimacy of the government of the United States. I mean, how does that even make any sense? Again, sovereign citizen, okay? And so she doesn't think the rules apply to her at all. So now here's some of the trial conversation just to show, what she was talking about, what she's like. The judge had said the conditions would be to turn in your firearms until your court case is over. You have Second Amendment rights. If you say you will comply, I will release you. So she's getting a pretty good deal here, okay? And her response was, I am one of God's creations. Okay, but what does that have to do with anything? The judge also noted that I understand you don't accept the jurisdiction of the court. I don't agree with you, but I see you're trying to work with me. Now, imagine again a member of Antifa, okay, in front of the court. Do you think that somebody, or Black Lives Matter, for example, you think they would be treated like that? Hell no. It would never happen. Never happen. But of course, if you invade the Capitol as a far right-winger and you're white, well, as long as you promise not to grab your closest gun, you can go and have a vacation. Again, make them trees and burgers. Well, again, if she doesn't believe in following the rules of the government or the legitimacy of the court, what's to prevent her from going and grabbing her gun and doing whatever she wants on her little vacation? You think they're going to watch her? No, of course not. But I understand that this is how personal recognizance works, that you promise to follow the instructions of the court until you come back for your trial and all that stuff. I just don't feel like you should be trusting this person. It sort of feels like there are certain judges, and I'm not a judge. I'm not in that position, obviously. But it seems like some of them are really bending over backwards to allow some of these people to go on vacations. The one lady who ended up having a vacation in Mexico, being able to go across the border in Mexico, even though she was involved in the January 6th Capitol insurrection. Why? I don't know. Maybe it's because, and I don't know the specific judge, to be fair. I mean, the judiciary has been taken over a lot by the right wing, but man, maybe this is an example of it. Maybe if it isn't, maybe it's just a lawyer, or I'm sorry, not a lawyer, but a judge being super, super fair and saying, look, I understand this person. We got to follow the law. We got to follow the Constitution. We got to give this person, we got to be fair to this person. And that they agree, with all these rules, then of course I'm going to let him go. But again, and not to call this judge specifically out, but I wonder how many people who don't happen to be white right-wingers get denied these opportunities and get put and kept in prison. And so there is that disparity. And again, not to call that one person out, that one judge out and say, oh, you're guilty of all the rest of the judges who, would not, give the same kind of deal to somebody who's black or Antifa or BLM or anything like that. But it just seems, I don't know, maybe I'm just unfair. And maybe I just think that because what this person did tried to overturn, help overturn a legitimate election, I just think, fuck around and find out. You fucked around, you're going to find out. Maybe that's just me. That's just my 2 cents. And maybe I'm a little too harsh on these people, but that's just how I feel. And you can disagree. Let's just say. Okay. Moving on. Let's we're going to go to the next story here, which is disastrous. Well, some of you have been wanting me to talk about this yesterday, and so, here we go. Ken Klippenstein of The Intercept is on a bit of a roll. He recently received documents from the United States Navy that appear to conflate socialists with terrorists and list the left-wing ideology alongside and equal to neo-Nazis. Now, this comes from a section of the training document subtitled Study Questions, which includes the following: anarchists, socialists, and neo-Nazis all represent which terrorist ideological category? The correct answer, according to them, was political terrorism, according to a military source briefed on the training. So now, wait a minute here. Neo-Nazis are not the same as socialists and anarchists. Neo-Nazis are far more dangerous than socialists. Imagine thinking that, the people that want more democracy in the workplace, because that's what socialism is, and a larger welfare state is the same as the people who want to either, minorities either dead or deported, and the creation of a white-only ethno-state. That's not the same. And look, anarchists, so I did a little work in anarchists. I looked into it a little bit more because, there's the popular perception of anarchy being like no rules, violence, beating people up, doing whatever you want. And that's not exactly true, okay? There's a lot of different groups involved in anarchism, and it really kind of depends on the flavor, right? Whether or not they could be considered violent or dangerous. And so it turns out there's a lot of different levels of anarchist thought. But simply put, I'm just going to go with the simple definition here. Anarchism is a political philosophy that holds that ruling classes and the state are undesirable, unnecessary, and harmful, or alternatively, as opposing authority and hierarchical organization in the conduct of human relations. So that is a very simple definition of what general anarchy is. So now proponents of anarchism, as a result, advocate for stateless societies based on non-hierarchical voluntary associations. However, anarchist schools of thought can differ fundamentally, supporting anything from extreme individualism to complete collectivism. And so, again, that is a wide-ranging belief system. Now, much of anarchist economics and legal philosophy do reflect anti-authoritarianism, anti-statist, and libertarian interpretations of far-left and socialist policies, such as communism, collectivism, as well as free market, individualism, mutualism, participism, and syndicalism, among other libertarian socialist philosophies. So, now, in America, and again, different forms of anarchy for different forms of, or different countries, I should say. In America, Hosea Warren is widely regarded as the first American anarchist, And the 4-page weekly paper he edited during 1833 was actually called The Peaceful Revolutionist. Peaceful revolution. So, well, obviously, if it's a peaceful revolution, it can't be violent. So, I'm just saying. Now, an important concern for American individualist anarchism was free love. So this is another fun fact. Free love particularly stressed women's rights, since most sexual laws at the time discriminated against women. Again, doesn't necessarily sound that entirely bad or violent. So, nonetheless, there's a lot of different strains of anarchism. As I said, most of them, or the vast majority of them, don't actually call for violence. Now, there is one that does, and that's insurrectionary anarchism, obviously. It's in the name, and they believe that, no, you should employ violence. So now, I don't agree with that. And most anarchists also do not agree with that. For example, schools like anarcho-pacifism, which completely rejects the use of violence in any form for any purpose. This is actually practiced by Henry David Thoreau. So, yeah, if you put anarchists and socialists in there, it really seems to be a ridiculous catch-all. And it really shows you how committed the military is in maintaining, of course, the status quo, which is pro-capitalist. So, and Emma Goldman is also a famous anarcho-feminist. And so I was reading about that as well. So, now, the document, which is titled Introduction to Terrorism/Terrorist Operations, is part of a longer training manual recently disseminated by the Naval Education Training and Command Navy Tactical Training Center in conjunction with the Center for Security Forces. The training is designed for Masters at Arms or the Navy's internal police. So again, they're teaching the Navy internal police that socialism bad, anarchism bad, and it's completely the same as white supremacy and neo-Nazism, which again, as I've shown, it's not at all the same. They're absolutely different. Now, the source, the military official who spoke to Klivenstein, said, quote, "This is just ineffective training because whoever is directing the Navy anti-terror curriculum would rather vilify the left than actually protect anything." And I think that's 100%. Despite the fact, they say, the most prominent threat is domestic right-wing terror. True. Klippenstein also goes on to explain that both the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security have identified white supremacists as the deadliest terror threat to the United States. Not socialists, not anarchists, but again, white supremacists. And we have proof of that. You could just look at the death toll from people who are white supremacists. And not only that, but you can listen to the FBI. And the FBI, understand, the FBI is not a pro-left organization. No, they have traditionally targeted leftist thought leaders. Went after Martin Luther King Jr. told the guy to kill himself. You know, that's obviously content warning. But that's what they have traditionally done. So understand that they are not in favor and on the left. So now there are people on the right wing that are like, oh my God, I can't believe how leftist of an organization the FBI is. In fact, the recent conspiracies by Tucker Carlson, basically said, I can't believe the FBI would lead the invasion of the Capitol building on January 6th. Because they're aligned with Antifa or Black Lives Matter. That's absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Not true at all. No, the FBI, but they're actually right about this. Back in September of 2020, FBI Director Christopher Wray, in testimony before the Senate Judiciary Committee, said that white supremacists have been responsible for the most lethal attacks of the last decade and that they comprise the biggest chunk of our domestic terrorism portfolio. The Biggest. Now, a spokesman for the Chief of Naval Personnel provided a statement to The Intercept, basically kind of backtracking here. This training is not connected with the recent DoD or Navy anti-extremism training, and the course material is not meant to promote any opinion or judgment and represents no policy statement. Oh. Asked about the debate over how to respond to the domestic terror threat, Captain Klein, a former FBI assistant special agent in charge at the Bureau's New Haven field office, agreed that the white supremacist threat was serious, but warned that any response must respect constitutionally protected activity, like free speech. No matter what we do in responding to the domestic terrorism problem, the Constitution cannot be a casualty. And Klippenstein also points out in this report that while the right has been vocal with concerns about being unfairly targeted for political opinions, media coverage of the Biden administration's focus on domestic extremism has paid considerably less attention to what it might mean for movements on the left, including Black Lives Matter, Antifa, and the environmental movement. Internal FBI documents he reported on back in 2019 specifically listed anarchists and environmental extremists among counterterrorism priorities. Environmental extremists. Who the hell are those? I've never seen an example of this. Like, are you talking about people who chain themselves to line 3 or whatever, or to oppose the Keystone XL pipeline? Is that a quote unquote environmental extremist? Apparently. And again, that gets in the way of capitalism. That's anti-capitalist behavior, because you are actually pushing back against a large corporation that plans to despoil that land in the name of profit. But really, they make it sound like groups like Avalanche are going around and blowing up nuclear reactors or Mako reactors or whatever, to kind of complete that reference. But that's not what's happening. These people are protecting oftentimes tribal land and water sources that are incredibly important, and pushing back against these large corporations, which, by the way, buy their way into office, lobby politicians that will rubber stamp these gigantic projects that end up doing a lot of harm to people's lives and homes. But again, right-wing, extremists. And here's the thing. What's happening right now is right-wing extremists were shooting immigrants as a result of the rhetoric of Donald Trump. Or people like Dylan Roof had attacked black churches, because of their political leanings. Incels attacking cheerleaders because of the pushback against feminism and the feminization of men. That's all right-wing ideological terror. That's all being talked about on the right wing. So, yet in the same testimony where he debunked Trump's characterization of Antifa, Wray had also suggested the Bureau was pursuing any number of properly predicted investigations into what we would describe as violent anarchist extremists. And while he rebutted baseless claims that Antifa had instigated January 6th, Wray also said, quote, "That doesn't mean we're not looking, and we'll continue to look." Well, of course they will. And look, it's not as bad as it was during the Obama administration, to be fair. Okay? It's still pretty bad. But during the Obama administration, when they started even looking at all into right-wing terror groups, which again proved to be a deadly mistake. As soon as Republicans, conservatives, Rush Limbaugh found out about it, their heads exploded. Oh, why are you looking into us? Why are you looking into us? You need to look into the violent Muslims in the left wing. And again, as I just mentioned, deadly mistake, because you had an incredible rise in right-wing domestic terror incidences because the Obama administration was too scared of what Fox News would say and didn't look into that. And during the Trump administration, they finally started looking into it more. But it looks like the Biden administration is pulling back on it and saying, oh, no, white supremacists and neo-Nazis, the same as socialists. Because, of course. And by the way, there's one right here. Former FBI agent Mike German pointed out that they've continued to look into black groups, black activist groups that have been targeting for years. Back in 2019, Clemmenstein obtained internal documents revealing the FBI's counterterrorism priorities in the fiscal years of 2018 to 2020. While it included white-wing groups like militia extremists, sovereign citizens, white supremacy, it also included black identity extremists and anarchist extremists. The FBI documents suggested without evidence that the term black identity extremist grew out of the Black Lives Matter movement, which is not typically associated with violence. The document went on to describe a cryptic program codenamed Iron Fist, in which the FBI would use undercover employees and recruit confidential informants among black identity extremist groups. However, they met, of course, with not a lot of headway. They really did not get into those groups. The FBI's Iron Fist program was concerning enough that then Representative Cedric Richmond, now a senior advisor to President Biden, grilled the FBI director about it back in 2019. And according to the military source, the training materials also include a Black Panther's fist symbol on a slide of terror organizations within with Al-Qaeda. So great comparison, y'all. Comparing black identity extremists with Al-Qaeda. Fantastic. Now you tell me if those groups are the same. You tell me that they've got the same body counts in America. If not, then no, they're definitely not the same. The fact is that you have the FBI and the government and the military that are falsely equating leftist movements that are challenging capitalism as we know it right now. They're the same as actual terror groups that have been overwhelmingly violent in this country. I don't buy it. And I know I'm going to get a lot of that's socialism. They're killing tens of hundreds of billions of people. The Pol Pot, Mao. For one, of course, those are authoritarian governments. I don't agree with that at all. Not authoritarian. As far as places like Cuba, did you know that Cuba just developed a COVID-19 vaccine that is 92% effective and completely free for everyone? It's free. 92% effective. That's almost as effective, just about as effective as the top tier vaccines here in America, the Pfizer and the Moderna shot. It's a three shot vaccine and is 92% effective. They can do that despite all the sanctions and all the garbage that, the United States, it does to them. Weird. The sanctions, the embargoes, which, by the way, are super unpopular with the American people. Why are we continuing to sanction and embargo Cuba? Oh, right. That's because it's socialism. It's communism. It almost seems like the biggest problem with socialism abroad is the fact that it exists. And we can't have that. And that's why the West continues to try to kill it. Honestly, if it doesn't work, like everybody claims, well, then just let it fail on its own. We don't have to sit there and do punishing sanctions and embargoes. If it's not going to work, it's not going to work. Prove your superiority and just let it fail. I'm just saying, unless, of course, you're afraid that it's not going to fail on its own, which explains classifying socialism as political terrorism. So, anyway. All right. Another quick story here before we go. I gotta get this one done. So let's do it. A shocking video revealed a Florida state trooper attacking a teenager for being at his girlfriend's house and looking suspicious. Now, according to CBS 12, well, I'm going to show you the report on it, 16-year-old Jack Rodeman was standing on the back porch of his girlfriend's home, was reaching for his phone to text her that he was outside so that she could, of course, let him in. Yes, they knew he was going to be there. He was invited there. He had permission to be there. But as you're going to see, a state trooper is still going to find him, quote unquote, suspicious and demand to know what he's doing there and why, and that he put his hands behind his back for, again, no reason. Take a look.
I didn't do nothing.
This surveillance video shows 16-year-old Jack Rodeman outside his girlfriend's back door last week as a Florida state trooper approaches him with his taser drawn.
Put your hands behind your back. I didn't do nothing.
Moments later, the trooper tases him and he falls hard. Christina Rodeman is Jack's mother.
I don't feel like my son deserved that.
Put your hands behind your back. I'm going to do it again.
Some people would ask, if he complied, then it wouldn't have escalated.
Probably. And I agree. He should have dropped his phone. He's a good kid, but he is defiant with the law enforcement a little bit.
Rodeman says she's outraged. The trooper repeatedly tased her son while he was on the ground writhing in pain.
I just think he should have called for somebody else for backup. But, I mean, his life wasn't at risk. My son wasn't fighting him. I mean, Jack looked totally calm.
You don't feel your son was a threat?
Absolutely not a threat.
The trooper said he followed the biracial teen into the backyard because he looked suspicious and tased him when he refused to follow his commands to turn around and put his hands behind his back.
You think you can do exactly what you want to do. No, because you can't. I'm sorry.
I just feel like something should be done. He shouldn't have done that to my kid. I mean, his girlfriend's traumatized, the mom's traumatized, I'm traumatized.
How's he doing?
He's affected a lot of people. I don't know.
After that incident, by the way, it wasn't over. He's been in jail for 21 days. At least. He's still in jail. And he's facing charges for resisting arrest. Oh, and of course, I guess possession of marijuana, which shouldn't even be a crime. I understand he's only 16. But at the same time, that's no excuse to keep him in prison after tasing the crap out of him for 21 days when he wasn't doing anything. And look, again, I got for the mother, just to address that for a second. You can tell he's mixed race, and his mother is white, and that's why she said, of course, and this is the whole conservative trope, like this what they always say. Well, yeah, of course, if he had just done what the officer had asked of him, well, then this wouldn't have escalated. This wouldn't have happened. But this is a shakedown. Understand, this is a shakedown. Shouldn't have to do that, especially when you're not doing anything wrong. And that's sort of the problem with that entire thing. Police believe that they can do whatever they want. They can order people to do whatever they want at any time. Police are supposed to be public servants. They're supposed to protect us. They're not doing that. Instead, what they're doing is that they're going around and profiling random black teenagers and accosting them and assaulting them for doing absolutely nothing. There was no crime until apparently he disrespected the police officer by not doing anything. In fact, the police officer had come in hot, had followed him into the backyard. Apparently he was darting the cops, which is somehow now considered to be a crime. But when he got there, he said, "Put your hands behind your head." And the teen, of course, said, "I didn't do anything." That's when the cop deployed his taser. And again, it was said that the trooper had believed that he was a, quote, suspicious person because he was dressed in black. Oh, well, it's funny. When I was a teenager, I was dressed in black all the time. We all have our goth phase, okay? Painful to admit. Genco jeans and everything. The only thing I didn't do was paint my nails, right? So, or do lipstick. To be fair, I didn't do any of that stuff, but I was still dressed in complete blackness. The darkness, the reflection of my soul. Okay, anyway. I know that I'm not supposed to be ridiculous. It's a serious story. But I was dressed like that. I never got harassed by the cops. Or could it be that there was a one simple difference there? Oh, right. I'm a white kid. Yeah, of course. Of course. It wasn't the fact that he was dressed black. It's the fact that he was half black. Okay. And so that's enough. That's enough. They also said that he, when he saw the police, he darted and hid. Although it's unclear if the darting was just a walk to the back porch. Well, look, if he did dart, that's still no excuse. And besides, seeing how black people are treated in this country, as often as I have, and as many of the videos if I have of people not doing anything wrong, Tamir Rice, for example, back in the news today, where he had a toy gun, and within 2 seconds, gunned down by police officers because he was such a danger to the police, such a danger. Come on, pathetic. If you saw that and you were black, you'd hide behind a car too in the sight of police. You're more afraid of the police than anything else. And that's understand what his mother, I think, needs to get, because she never had to deal with it. She never had to deal with it, but unfortunately, her son has to. Her son has to. And so, again, it almost makes their point for them, by the way, of why, black people are like, no, of course I'm going to run from the police. Of course I'm going to hide the police. They do that. They tase us and detain us for 21 days without doing anything, for not doing anything. It is a shakedown. It is harassment. And I know that I would never be treated the same way. I've never been treated the same way. And I will never be, because I'm white. It's disgusting. It is absolutely disgusting. And it's Florida, of course. Of course, this happens in Florida, but it happens everywhere, honestly. And what do you expect? This is why people are angry with police. And again, people like me will never experience it. Black people do all the time. So maybe, I don't know, maybe next time this mother should actually listen to what people in the black community are actually saying about what happens to them. And not only do we need to listen, but of course we need to stand by our black brothers and sisters, sons, mothers, brothers, fathers, and all of them, so that we can try to end the bullshit like this. So, did the kid get to finish the school year in jail? I don't know, honestly. It didn't say anything in the articles that I had read about it, but that he is still there. He's still there. It's an outrage, an absolute outrage. Okay. Octosquiddies, thank you for the first resubbing for 2 months at tier 1. Thank you. I'm sorry. I'm so mad I can't talk right. It is what it is. All right. Thank you, by the way, for going around the nation with me today. I appreciate it. I hope you all have an excellent night. Thank you so much for joining me. Please like and share before you leave. And so all of that. All right. Thank you all. Love you. I'm going to figure out who we're going to raid here for our Twitch community. For everyone else, go and do your thing. I think we're going to go and raid the Intifada. So fun times. Love you all, and remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation. See you tomorrow.
Oh no, Sam Cedar, what a fucking nightmare.
How you like that, boy? You idiot.
Dumps. Big, massive dumps. There's insanity in the control room.
Who's got a hammer?
You're kicking me out the door. You're kicking me out the door.